Those are the ones that are going to see you in that light. Your family is always going to see you as you. And that's not going to change. They might be like, oh yeah, he's a business owner, whatever. But you want to have, because if you want to grow, you're not going to grow with your people. You're going to grow with the community. So we have thousands of followers on our Facebook page, and all these people know us, and they're the ones that are coming daily. They're the ones that are going to refer me to their family members. I have a small family. If I were to bank on my family and their income to support Goodworks, I'll make more money
in a small community.
So I think it's important for people to just be like, already expect, what, you want the support from the strangers, because they're the ones that are going to support you like for real, 100%.
I mean, you always have my support.
You know what? I can't stand that. He did it on purpose.
That's so funny that you mentioned that too.
Disrespectful.
I will say this one tastes a lot better.
Yeah. I hate you guys.
But hello, everyone. Welcome to the Winners Podcast. My name's Shannon, and I'm joined today by my lovely co-host Zack Cameron. I'm excited today because we have another guest on the episode. It's been a long time coming because the first appointment didn't happen. But he's here. He's here.
Or the second. Or the third.
Yeah. He's here and he brought coffee. Guys, welcome Victor, the owner of Goodworks Coffeehouse in Chicopee, Center Street, Springfield. Victor, thank you for being on the pod.
And thank you for having me.
I like your hat.
Thanks.
What is it?
It is the original Falcons for the Thunderbirds.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Goodworks, since we're talking about Goodworks, we were honored during their Thunderbird games as one of the businesses that has been very involved in the community. So they invited Katie, my wife, our kids, and during the middle of the game, they called us out and they did a shout out and did like a little bio about us and whatnot. So that was cool.
That's cool. You have that plaque in your...
I do. I have two of them.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
2 plaques.
How did kids feel about meeting Boomer?
Oh yeah, they were, Boomer's it.
Boomer's the guy.
Boomer.
But let's get down to the business of why we really brought you here. The hard-hitting questions. Why'd you open the coffee shop? No, I'm just kidding.
It's aggressive. No, but seriously, why did you open the coffee shop?
Before we get there, I kind of want to talk. This is this episode is gonna be fun because Victor's background in life in general. So before we get into the coffee shop, talk to me a little bit about what you did before the coffee shop.
So I worked for DCF, which is the Department of Children and Families. I've worked there for about 11 and a half years. Fresh out of college, I had an interview and I was hired on the spot. They were looking for male Latino, Spanish speaking. But DCF, pretty much in a nutshell, is an agency that caters to the well-being of children from newborns up to the age of 18 years old. And so social workers, which I was doing before, what we would do is we are assigned a case and we go into these homes and we assess the family and the risks of the children. Unfortunately, in some event, if the children is at high risk of abuse, whether it's sexual, physical, emotional, then we can get custody from the state and we remove the kids from the home. All this, is planned and we do inform the families, but if, we're working with people here. So regardless if they knew that this was going to happen, it's always, detrimental to the family. And towards the end of DCF, I started to work with adolescents, which are teenagers that have already been in care and they're aging out. And so we help with that adult transition.
How was that, the mental of that? Because that's tough, especially being a parent.
Yes. At that time, I wasn't a parent. But when I became a parent, I truly understood and became had more empathy for the families I worked with. I was still kind and understanding, but still had that thought okay, you have kids, but you can do this. But I understand sometimes how a parent can lose their cool, But then the part of it is, let's figure out how we can help with when you do lose your cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to resort to physical beatings or, whatnot. So when I became a parent, my connection with parents became stronger just because of that.
could relate.
I could relate. Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah.
You did that for 11 years, 11 and a half years. Walk me through, because it seems like it came out of nowhere, the idea for the coffee shop. One day I was at your house and you're like, you and Katie, I have an idea. Open up a coffee shop. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Random. Talk to me about kind of that time period of when you were at DCF and like the initial thought of like the why behind it and kind of just all that good stuff.
Yeah. So if you know me well, you know that I don't share a lot. I kind of just I'm infamous for that. Like just doing things randomly. Like, okay, that came out of nowhere. But going back to college, there was a time where I had to write a paper about my life, right? And I never shared it with anyone. I still have the paper, the report at home. And in that report, my first initial goal was to become a business owner, entrepreneur. I did not know what it was at that time, but it was to become wealthy and to have multiple businesses. And that was like a 10-year plan. I kind of outlined it and whatnot. And I stashed that away for a little bit. I really emerged myself as social work because I truly have a passion for people. I love people. I love to help. I love to advocate. I love to build the gap between like people that don't necessarily know about their resources, and connect people. That's like my thing is connect. And I still use that at Goodworks. And so working at DCF, I learned so much, my language changed, my mindset changed. I became, just smarter about things and life. And when I was doing that, I started to become unfulfilled because, in my generation, my mom was like, okay, you graduate high school, you go to college. That was like an expect. You just go to college, you pick your choice of what you're going to do and you work and then you retire. That's like pretty much what I was told. Right. So at that time, okay, this is what I'm doing. We have in our family, there's no entrepreneurs, no business people. Not everyone, a few people went to school. I saw that was modeled to me. And then at some point in like the 10 years, I truly felt like, okay, this can't be it. And I think my supervisor, which I love and we're still connected today, she literally has a calendar and is counting down the days to her retirement. Like it's right next to her, and she's still there. Wow. Katie, if you ever see this, I love you, but you're one of the reasons why I'm like I'm not gonna stay here. But she's like counting down the days into her retirement, like, and I'm like, there's something wrong. That just never sat well with me, Yeah. And I started to just have that craving of living purposely, doing something purposeful, right? And so I began to read about random people through articles and books and how they literally had a career change from one thing to something completely different. And I started filling myself with the possibility and idea that can be me. Getting my wife on board was another challenge, because her mindset was not like that at all. She was in that, we're working, we do this, we do that. But one thing led to the other. And after I've completed that change in mindset, ironically, my aunt at the time signed up for like this master course to write a business plan, right? And in that course, that's when I realized, you know what? I think I want to do a coffee shop. And when I spoke to my wife about the idea of the coffee shop, she resonated with that because we love coffee. And we found ourselves having to, at least in our area in Chicopee, having to travel outside of our community to have that coffee shop experience. Because Chicopee did not have that at all. And so in that free crash course, I wrote, with the help of my wife, a 21-page legit business plan. And this program is geared to helping people like me. And after you finish that crash course, you have an additional support where they assign you a mentor to kind of help you. Okay, now that you have this business plan, these are your next steps.
So you wrote the 21-page business plan. Do you still have it?
I do.
Have you looked back at it now that the business is how old?
It is 5.5 years.
Wow, 5.5 years. Have you looked back at it and kind of compared like where you're at to where you wanted to be at?
I have. It's amazing to like look back, and I think it's important too to write down your goals and write down what your vision. And it's nice to see that everything that we pretty much wrote is what has been fulfilled. It helped us like with our weaknesses, our strengths, our competition, our target, like who our audience is going to be. We were intentional with location. So up the street from Goodworks, there's the private college, Elms College, which is amazing because on paper, even before meeting the faculty, we were like, we're going to have students here and the faculty. They're going to have an Elms night. They're going to have meetings here. We're going to have people working here. Like that was a vision, right? And so that's happening, literally happening. We have now that we're going back to school, I'm starting to see the students, the faculty is coming down. We're talking about having, a night for like college students, and we're talking about an area that there's nothing, right? Downtown Chicopee, there's nothing. Let me take that back.
Well, now there's stuff there.
Yeah.
But when you guys were 2017, there was really nothing there.
When we wrote our business plan, the city of Chicopee, they're very particular with like who's going to come down there. And so we had an opportunity to present that to the mayor at that time, Mayor Cos, he was great. He read it, he loved it, and that's when he approved. And this is, I'm telling you, I did this business course not having an idea that this was going to happen. We finished it. I met with somebody. Me and Katie casually were walking down just to see like, where can we potentially have this coffee shop? We had no money, and then we saw on where we are now, there is a flyer that the city of Chicopee offers grants. And so we looked, and then that's when I gave the business plan to Mayor Cost at the time. He loved it, he approved it, and they approved us funding. And then there we just had to kind of just do it.
That's crazy.
Because we didn't even, we're getting money, and we're like, okay, let me tell you this. I did not know how to make coffee. Okay? Okay? Can you let that register?
Hold on. So you're planning a coffee shop.
Yep.
You have a 21-page business plan.
Yep.
But you don't know how to make coffee.
Exactly.
But you had a love for coffee.
I had a love of coffee for drinking it.
Yeah. But when did you learn? Like,
I learned it when I opened.
so when was your official launch day for the business?
So January 15th, 2018.
So January 15th, 2018?
Yep.
When did you learn how to make coffee?
So
December.
So let me tell you about. So a lot of stuff was happening.
Okay.
A lot. Unfortunately, my grandma at the time, she had passed away, and I was actually caring for her. Our family met, and we all took a day to take care of her. She passed away with cancer. So while I was in that class on Mondays, after Mondays, I would go to my grandma, sleep there, help her and whatnot. That was happening. We were expecting our third child. Katie was pregnant, right?
Great timing.
Yeah, great timing. We found out that we were pregnant when we were signing the lease to the space. Yeah. No idea.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I look back, and it's amazing how resilient we are. And if you truly want something to happen, like there's no excuses.
Yeah.
You just get that done because you want that to happen. Luckily, because we were completely new to the town, I had a lot of time on my hands. I was on YouTube, literally, doing the latte art, steaming the milk. Let me give myself a little credit. We did take one training course, Katie and I, a crash course.
Yeah.
And then my ex-brother-in-law was an actual barista, and when we purchased our machine, he came in and gave us a few lessons here and there.
Okay.
So you
had some kind of knowledge.
I had some kind, kind of. At that time, it was just coffee. So just learning what espresso shots were, learning what amount you put in, learning our machine, the grinders. It was when I opened, I literally learned how to do it.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's wild. So it's 20. Let's say we're still 2017. You're signing the lease. You're close to the launch of everything. This is important for me to have you on the episode because I feel like a lot of people looking to start businesses perhaps are currently in the situation that maybe you were, working a full-time job, maybe dead end or you're not enjoying it, want to start a business, maybe doesn't know how to do, has a passion for something. So I think it's instrumental to have someone like you talk about your journey because it can be inspiring to someone early on in the process, because you're talking about starting a coffee shop. You have your career in social work. You don't even know how to make coffee, and now 5 years later, you have a successful coffee shop still going. So it's important. But before we get into like the coffee shop now, talk a little bit about. I know a lot of people talk about support and support system and all that stuff. So you're signing the lease. You find out Katie's pregnant. Talk about kind of where your mind was throughout that process. What was your support system? What did support look like from friends, from family, from people around you?
So Katie and I never told anyone what we're doing. We kind of just did everything on our own. The support system wasn't family or friends. It was the city, Chicopee. They truly supported us with the funding and with the resources and and our landlords, which are amazing. Valley Opportunity Council, they own that building. So we were kind of like in this chapter of our lives where we kind of just were naturally isolated to get this task done. And I'm glad it happened that way because the little people that we did tell had a negative impact about that. Like, why would you do that? You have kids, you're leaving your state job. And I was at that time was making a lot of money. We have business mentors that we met with. People were connecting us to other business owners, people that had coffee shops in other states. And we're kind of just giving us that mentorship and saying, this is going to happen. Make sure that before you open a coffee shop that you and your wife are going to be in agreement. And that when something bad happens, that you're not pointing out your finger at one another and blaming. Like, you guys are in this together. They also said, this is even before the pandemic. He's like, in business, you're going to bend a lot, but you're not going to break. If you have something steady, consistent, you have a strong foundation, which starts with the family, you guys will be fine. So we had a lot of that support. A lot of people who were already in it, who have done it, that were able to give us that like that hope of like, okay, we can do this. Now, of course, when you're hearing that, you don't know what that looks like because that whole bending thing looks different for everybody, right? And I think you're right when people have this concept of like, oh, I'm going to start a new business. It's not glamorous at all. There's a lot of sacrifices that you have to take. I laugh when people view us as like a power couple or strong leaders, and I do take some of that credit, but like I'm like, people don't really truly understand like the behind the scenes. Like, just because we don't talk about it or we don't like share it doesn't mean that it's never happened. There was tears, arguments. Yeah. And let's not even talk about the pandemic. We can talk about that in a few minutes, but the support with the family and friends came after when they saw that we were like, oh, like you guys are legit. You guys are doing it, right? And I think I wouldn't want to change that, because I didn't want that to hinder us, because Katie and I, we're a partner, we're a partnership.
So that's interesting. So the people, the friends, or the relationships that you had, that when you said, hey, I'm starting this coffee shop, they didn't necessarily support it, but when you figured it out, you were doing all the things, then they were like,
yeah, pretty much.
And you were cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I if once you get to know me, I don't like to do what other people are doing. And I realized that since we've opened a coffee shop, there has been a huge wave of entrepreneurships, which I've never seen before in our community. Yeah. Like, I feel like somebody had to take that step. Like, hey, we can do it if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
And since then, there's all these other entrepreneurs that are following those steps as well. Because before, it was my mindset, like, you work, go to school, and that's it.
That's so interesting because I feel like typically when something like that happens, like your support system that you think they're gonna have your back when you want to do something crazy like this, they didn't, and you're okay with that. Typically, though, people would be like, "Oh, if they don't think we can do it, so I'm not gonna do it." You know what I mean? That makes me think about one of our friends. She started it's called The Spot, and she talked to us about it before she did it, and we were like, Mackenzie, and we talked to her and we gave her like advice, and she's doing it. You know what I mean? But people need that community to do it. You know what I mean? But you were very much like, I'm gonna do it regardless if you have my back or not.
Right.
And that's I think it's a pretty interesting perspective to have, or approach to it, because I feel like I would need support if I'm doing something radical like that. But you were like, nah, I'm good. I'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. We did, after we were established, we got our shop, we got our stuff. You know, I had my uncle come in, and he's a handyman, so he helped with, like, you know, building stuff for us. We had friends that were handy and whatnot. So that support came in after we were like, hey, we have a shop, we got the lease.
We're doing it.
Come
on. Yeah.
Now I need your help.
Yeah. I get it.
Early on in business, a lot of people get upset when they see that their family or friends don't support. It takes a certain time, after a certain time, that I don't know if you become numb to it, or you just understand the way the business works. Talk a little bit about how you look at support now, 3 years later, because you mentioned after you guys were up and running, that's when people started coming back.
Mm-hmm.
How do you gauge that? How do you look at support now after being up in business?
I have been up and down with that, you know, understanding that, you know, I think every person that is going to open a business, they just want their support from their family and friends. That's just like, that's what they want, right? So in the beginning, that was like, you know, I want my family, my friends to come and whatnot. But that wasn't the case for us, for either side of our families, besides, you know, my mom and my brother.
You guys share the same mother, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. we share the same mother. Yeah.
Just threw that in there.
Yeah.
Good brother, surprise.
Yeah. Hey, and we had the same birthday. He stole January 17th. He was supposed to be born in February. Yeah. So
came in with
that was early. Came in with a bang.
Yeah. So besides my mom and my brother, they were like support, and not just because, but they actually like the coffee and like the stuff there, you know. But my support system has changed. My view of it has changed completely. I've gone from getting offended to like not getting offended to like understanding people, you know, because a lot of it has nothing to do with me, to be honest. It's really a reflection on them. It took me a while to understand that, because I'm the total opposite. I'm a supporter. I don't care what you're doing. I'm supporting you 100%. That's just my personality. But I have to learn and accept that not everyone's like that. And it's nothing. It may be to some extent where people are malicious about it, but I think the majority of the time people are not. They're just dealing with their own life, you know. Yeah. But meeting other business owners and entrepreneurs, like I said before, that have gone through it, and I attended this last conference with a friend of mine. He's part of a network, and there's pretty much everyone there is, if they're not a billionaire, they're a millionaire, or they have all this money. Very humble people. You will never know if you talk to them, but talking to them, they have, you know, taught me that it's okay to categorize people in your life now. And, you know, if you have a sister or a brother that has kids and they don't have a business, it's okay. You can still be family. You know, just categorize them as this is family, and when we're together, we're going to talk about our kids, school, parenting issues, you know, and all that stuff.
Because that you can relate.
You can relate, yeah. Then you have your friends that are actually entrepreneurs. There you can talk about your numbers, your sales, your ideas, and then you go back and forth. And then you start, and then for the other people, you start to categorize, you know. My mom, she's a great supporter, but she can care less about my business. There's no need for her. She doesn't even want to know. She's like, so like, and I get that. I'm like, you know, that's just my mom is like that. She'll ask hey everything, and then she'll go straight to her and what she wants and her life and whatnot. And I'm totally okay with that. But I've taken that attitude with friends and family and people, new people that I've met. And I think that's a more healthier way of living. You know, I think that I've learned to lower not even lower, don't have no expectations. And then from there, then I will.
And then things start to unfold. As they unfold, you're like, all right,
oh, okay. You're
in this category, you're in there.
Sometimes people are like this,
Yeah.
Kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
No, I think that's huge because, especially starting off, people expect family, close friends to support. You'll find quickly that your biggest supporters are people that are not family or friends. The biggest supporters are going to be people that came out the woodwork, and I think it's huge.
And I think before I forget this thought, I think that people need to learn that that's what you want. You want that. Those are the ones that are going to see you in that light. Your family is always going to see you as you, and that's not going to change. They might be like, oh yeah, he's a business owner, whatever. But you want to have, because if you want to grow, you're not going to grow with your people. You're going to grow with the community, So we have thousands of followers on our Facebook page, and all these people know us, and they're the ones that are coming daily. They're the ones that are going to refer me to their family members. I have a small family. If I were to bank on my family and their income to support Goodworks, I'll make no money.
In a small community.
So I think it's important for people to just be like, already expect, what? You want the support from the strangers, because they're the ones that are going to support you like for real, 100%.
I mean, you always have my support.
You know what? I can't stand that. He did it on purpose.
That's so funny that you mentioned that too, right?
Disrespectful.
I will say this one tastes a lot better.
Yeah. I hate you guys.
But I mean, you mentioned another thing. I remember you mentioned mom. I remember when I was young, I told mom I wanted to become a barber. She was like, why? ¿Por qué? She was like, they don't make money. So I remember that day, that idea of being a barber, I was like, it left just because they don't make no money. Barbers charge crazy
so
amount of
much
money nowadays. So all I'm saying is, Victor mentioned it. Be careful who you show your ideas with, or share your thoughts with, because a lot of people may not have the vision that you have, or the insight. So you give them something face value, they don't see the work ethic behind it. I remember when I told some family that I was becoming a photographer, and I got asked to do some work. I remember I showed up. Like, hey, Shane, can you take this pictures for this event? I'm like, yeah. I took it mad serious. It was just a little family gathering, but I came in with my flash.
I remember.
I came in with my stuff. I remember I walked in. Some people started laughing at me. I'm like, hey, I'm getting this work.
Yeah.
But that was 7 years ago. Now I own my own company and I get paid well to be extra and take pictures at events.
Yeah. And I call those people that are like vision vandals or vision bandits, right? The people that like you give this idea to, or you say, hey, this is what's on my heart, this is what's on my mind. And then they're like, that's kind of whack, or don't do that. You're not gonna make any money. All these different like crazy situations, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm not gonna do it. And that can tend to happen to the people that you're closest with. We've had a conversation before at Chipotle, and I just wanted to kind of just talk to you about just kind of me making a transition into this new line of work and things of that nature. You gave me great advice as far as like support, right? The way that you supported me, I feel it's super beneficial to future business owners, because I remember when I was at 22 News, I would come and would have coffee, would chit chat, and we were building a relationship. And then I was like, hey man, I'm gonna make a transition to BMW. And you were like, hey man, you're gonna do well. And you kind of like motivated me to make that transition. And I was at BMW for a while, and then I was like, hey, I want to be a lender. And you were like, hey man, you're gonna do a great job. And I had all these ideas, and you were like just there just to listen and also say, man, as long as you're motivated, you're going to accomplish these things. And I think that's so important. And I appreciate that. I do. I want to say I really do appreciate that. And you're not only a coffee shop in Chicopee, but you're a resource to business owners, to students, to people in your community, because you're a picture of what's attainable if you focus. So I just wanted to kind of encourage you with that. Like what you do is fantastic for the city of Chicopee, and you're just leaving a mark so that people out there know that they can do it as well. So
when Victor first told me about the coffee shop, we had a lot of conversations early on. I remember he was excited. He was like, I'm going to show you my business plan. I remember he pulled up. I think we were at your house. And then he was like, I forgot what number you said. I think you said we have to make like $800 a day. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, $800 a day? Like now in the middle of Chicopee? In my head, I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then with no drive-through,
Yeah.
he said once he told me no drive-through, I'm like, hell no. Hell no. I was like, no drive-through. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, we got boots on the ground there. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to. So I remember you had so many people show up. I remember Pedro Giancarlo was there, rest in peace. So many people came out of the woodworks to help with random stuff. Arlene with the
Or her paintings and the logo on their wall. Yep.
So many different people. That's one of the things from the outside. I saw random people helping out. Like you'll have a random person watching the kids because
You need to do stuff.
you're doing stuff over here. So people will support you. You just have to find your people.
Find your
right
community.
people.
Yep. Find your
And stay away from the vision bandits.
Right.
So fast forward past the pandemic, because we didn't talk about that. That was everyone knows that was hard. It was terrible. We'll get past it because it was trash. But we're here, 2023. We made it past the pandemic. Now that you've breathed past the pandemic, what's your vision for the coffee shop in the next 5 to 10 years?
So the goal is to keep Goodworks small but effective, and hopefully in a year or two we can figure out, okay, well, if this is managing itself where I don't have to be physically there, then it gives me space to go and launch a second one. Similar style, but same machine, because we want our coffee to be consistent. It's the same grinders and whatnot. So yeah, we need updated equipment. We need we have a real espresso machine. It's $10,000. It was made in Italy. It's small, but I say we need a real one because now we need like the monster ones. Because now we're at the point where we can't keep up with the volume of orders.
Wow.
So there's
That's a good problem.
Yeah, and I'm surprised people they still wait. Like we literally now, which we might change. We're gonna change that. We handcraft our espresso. I don't think people realize that. We're like handcrafting that.
With the
that you see me doing this in the back. That
that's much better sound.
So we need like at least a 2 or 3 unit, which I can do multiple espresso at the same time. Steam milk, leave it steaming, do that, so I can be more efficient. Yeah, but once I master the Chicopee location, I do think I'm thinking of opening the second one.
That's so interesting. You don't think that you mastered the Chicopee location yet?
Yeah.
5.5 years in.
Yeah.
That's got to figure it out somewhat.
I think so too.
No, yeah, I'm me. I'm
a tough critic. Yeah, I feel like you guys got to have it figured out from when I first started going, when you guys first opened, to how fast I get my coffee now. I would have to mentally prepare for being there for a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys first started, and now it's just
right.
kind of going, get it, and I hang out. I have a reserved table.
Yeah,
I stay. I hang out for a little bit, do some work.
We pop in randomly. These guys there with his leg crossed, chilling.
Yeah, I like to
be comfortable.
I have my table, I have my designated area. He clocks me. I put my bag down, take out my laptop, put on my mouse.
Zach is the equivalent of
let's see where we're gonna go.
The old man that just goes to the coffee shop with his newspaper and sits down and just reads it for a couple hours.
And
then just goes home and just does the rest of the stuff throughout the day.
I am a man of consistency and I like things done a certain way.
A man of routine.
Routine, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks. I'm a man of routine, and
hey, it
works
works
wrong
for
with
you.
that.
Yeah, I like it.
One of the freshest lineups in the world.
Hey man, I try.
The last thing I kind of wanted you to talk about is really kind of maybe either encouragement or what would you say to someone that was maybe in your shoes back in 2015?
I honestly feel like people just need to truly believe in their own vision, right? Just believe that whatever you have in your core, that's not, it's not weird. It's not something that you have to kind of fight against. Accept it, I think for me, what was going on is that I like to follow the rules, right? And I like to, listening to my mom because she was like a big supporter of education. But I think that we are destined for more, right? And I think that we're built with already a design already in us. And so there's so many influences that will kind of, mess with your thinking. And so people, because they're afraid and fearful to tap into that, they rather stay complacent and comfortable because that's easier for them. And so I think finding that strength and that courage to believe in yourself first. And so the coffee shop challenge, I wasn't scared of it. I wasn't scared. And just like my past and how I was able to overcome opening a shop. I'm gonna make the coffee, and I'm gonna learn it in a short amount of time. Whatever it took, like a barista at that time, a year or two, I'm gonna shorten that time because I'm gonna dedicate my life to this so that I can master this.
Wow. Wow, take.
Yeah.
See, Victor and I are very different. Very different.
Polar opposites.
Very different.
You guys both don't text on time. And
he was like, I'm smart. I'm gonna prove everyone I'm smart. My mindset was like, I'm smart. Let me see how much I can get away with not doing. That was mine. That's what happens when you use your smarts for the right and wrong way. Like, I know this.
Good and evil, right?
Let me see how I can skip around this and still get the good grade. Anyways, but Victor, before we end, we like to end every segment, every show with something called "For the Win." That's where we ask you random rapid fire questions to see, get to know more about you. So just answer the first thing that comes to mind. They're just fun.
Okay.
So if you had to pick work or play,
Work.
love or friendship,
Love.
money or happiness,
Money.
The first one on the show to ever say money. Okay.
cats or dogs.
None.
He has 2 dogs. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Would you rather fly or have super strength?
Super strength.
There you go. And then the last one, not least. I struggled there.
What?
Last but not who?
I swear I didn't expect that.
Last but not least, chicken or beef?
Come on.
If you didn't know, Victor's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Dedicated.
Just kidding.
I
Just
spend my
kidding.
time trying to contaminate his food with beef.
And my children.
But they know better. But Victor, thank you again for being on the show. I think your story is very inspiring to a lot of people, especially from someone that saw it from behind the scenes. I'm proud of you. Good job with the business. Last thing, guys, if you go to Goodworks and you mention this podcast, you're gonna get 10% off on every order. I just threw it in there.
Okay.
So you got to put a discount code
All right.
in your system. Winner is the discount code. Mention the podcast, Winner Podcast, to Victor. 10% off. Hopefully that works. But guys, thank you for thank you for being on the show. I've been Shannon, Zach, Victor. Peace.
See you guys.